Let it roll in for a couple of seconds. What is going on, everybody? Episode 6. I can't believe we're here already. If you guys haven't already, or if you don't know, this podcast is sponsored by VandalThreads. Get all your VandalThreads needs today, whether it be the new mesh hat or a t-shirt. Use code VNDL for 5% off, or if you're spending over £75, $375 for free shipping worldwide. Now today we have a great person with us today. Spoke a lot over Twitter. Spoke a lot over the internet. You did a few. I did a few commissions for you.
Yes, sir.
But now you're a podcast host yourself. Well, you're a talk show host, aren't you?
If that's what you want to call it, yeah.
Yeah. So So what is it down to a T? Like, what is it? Because obviously you have some videos that are like you have people on, and you have some videos that you are by yourself and you're dissecting the video, like you're going through it and you're analyzing it. What would you call it?
It's just to me, it's just a film review podcast, a very sometimes sloppy film review podcast that I do with a couple amazing people who are permanent co-hosts to the show, DNA Gaming. We just watch movies and we try to go over the movie as best we can with some humor added in, good, bad, and the ugly of all types of films. So. That's pretty much what it is.
How difficult is it? Because obviously when I'm watching a film, it's always my own opinion. And I know you have your own opinion in there, but how hard is it for you to be like, you're seeing both sides to it?
Oh, it's hard. I mean, I listen to a lot of movie review podcasts that have way different opinions than what I have. But you when you get into something like this, you have to you got to go with your gut. And there's times where me and my co-hosts we don't agree on certain things, or when you get into something like this, when you've seen it outside of doing it, you see it in a different light. But then when you're watching it to review it, you see it in a whole like new vision. Like you're like, wow, I didn't even see those things before. Your view on certain movies kind of falter because you're like, man, I didn't pick up on those things before, because I feel like I'm more I used to complain about critics because
Right.
I was like, man, I feel like they're really hard on certain movies, and then I do it myself. And I'm like, I'm one of those guys. Sometimes
when you're like watching films, like, do you do what a lot of people, well, for me, when I'm watching a film, if I'm gonna be analyzing it like that, when I'm watching it first, it's basically all story. It's inevitable for me to not analyze it, and then when I'm watching it through again, I'm like, hang on a minute, I didn't pick up on a lot of that stuff, and I feel like that's what you're trying to say. Like when you're watching it through the first time, is it like you can't really help it? You're like, oh, and maybe they could done with lighting here, or maybe the story could have been taken off there, and
it's just from starting the show, I watch movies so different now. Even movies I'm not going to review, just movies that like I'll just sit with, me and my wife, we watch, movies every week, when we have time, and I watch movies so different now than I used to even a couple years ago, because now every movie I have such a critical eye. Like when it comes to CGI, or if it comes to just things that don't make sense, I'm like, I need to stop. All right, I just need to enjoy this.
Talking about CGI, times have changed with CGI, bro.
Oh, I know.
And like
they've changed for the good and the bad.
Well, what we thought was dope I say we, for like my sort of time, is like what I thought was so dope before, and like you couldn't get any better, and then you see the CGI today, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
A massive step up. Like I watched Spider-Man 3 the other day, and with Sandman and Green Goblin's son, and I'm just like, yo, at the time I'm like, what, I'll give it another watch, because obviously there was some things to do with No Way Home. Won't spoil it for those who haven't seen it, but I was watching it, and the part where he's chasing the Goblin's son, I can't remember his name.
Harry. Harry
Yeah,
Osborn.
when he's chasing around and he's doing like the slow-mo sort of like web shooting. And I'm just like, you know what? I thought that was so cool when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But
It's wild.
yeah, honestly. But going on from films that we liked when we were younger, I understand that you're quite the Jaws fan.
A little bit, just a little bit.
I'm just guessing. I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah, I mean, just from my wall back there, I like Jaws a little bit. I mean, I even got the shirt on. Yeah, it was a movie I was shown at too young of age. I think I was only like 3 or 4 years old when I was shown the movie for the first time, and I had the opposite effect what most people had. Like when they, even back, the movies came out 16 years before I was born. And when people saw it, they were afraid to go in the water. But for me, it was the opposite effect. It was,
No
I saw
way.
Jaws and I was like, man, the ocean's cool. Sharks are cool. Quint's kind of, he's a dick. Like, he's a bad, like Quint was the bad guy in my eyes. It wasn't the shark. And that's why I fell in love with sharks.
Oh, so you're Team Shark.
I'm Team Shark, man.
Yeah. So how many Jaws films are there? Because I believe or not, is it just one or is it?
So there's four.
There's four. Okay, I've only seen the first one.
There is four. Yeah, and we've reviewed all four of them on the show. That was early on, and then there was a fifth one that was an Italian-made movie. It was called Jaws, Cruel Jaws, which was an unofficial Jaws 5. It's a ridiculous movie, but yeah, there's four mainline Jaws movies.
So, talk me through it. How much can you do with a shark movie that's different to the first one?
I don't know, because the filmmakers didn't know either.
No,
because Jaws is in my eyes a perfect movie. There's for the year it came out in 1975, and the things from I've watched documentary upon documentary about the making of and how difficult it was, and it made me appreciate it more and show of just how hard it is to make movies, especially in that time, to that degree.
So when was the last one released?
The last core Jaws film was released in 1987.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they went at it for a bit and then just sort of.
Yeah.
We're calling it quits because obviously the shark's taking a bit of a beating.
Yeah. They tried to with like Jaws 2. It was kind of a rehash of the first one, but with like a different situation. It brought back characters from the first one, which I appreciated. I don't think it's a great movie, but it's an okay sequel to something that didn't need a sequel. And then they went into the 3D realm with the third one, because that's what they did in the early 80s. You had like Friday the 13th. I think one of the Friday the 13th was in 3D, and they had Piranha 3D, and yep. And then the fourth one, it was kind of like let's bring core members back from the original film 12 years later and make the most ridiculous plot of all time. And it is a bad movie.
Yeah. So you're saying obviously like it's your favorite movie because you got introduced to it young. I think it's kind of crazy how you was more drawn to it than afraid of it.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how that came to be. I guess it's just watching it. I don't know if like when I first saw it at that age, like I said, I think it was like 3 or 4 when I was shown it the first time, and I probably didn't have that mindset then, but like maybe like later on. I read the book as well. I've read the book like 3 or 4 times, and the book is vastly different than the movie. But and reading up on the author and how much of a shark advocate he is, and all the stuff outside of just the movie itself, it made me appreciate sharks more than most people did, even when I was a kid.
Yeah, because I mean, like, I've had plenty of people coming on, and if I'm asking them about their favorite film or favorite music, it's always the Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Spider-Man, Marvel, and then I come across you and it's like, I like this is different. Jaws. But no, I don't know, it gives me anxiety. I don't know why. Mainly the water more than anything. I mean the art, the poster art that they have, where it's just one person right in the middle and this huge fucking shark coming up from underneath him. That's my biggest damn fear, because I hate the ocean, man. Are you much a fan of the ocean?
I love the ocean. One of my dream jobs was to be a marine biologist, but that,
Wow.
things happened and I didn't go down that path. But I still to this day would love to go out and do shark dives and do research and stuff like that. It's just really interesting. And one of my favorite weeks of the year is Shark Week. I just love anything to do with sharks. I just got to take it in.
Wow, man. Do you get caught up? Do you get caught up by it? Like, do your buddies like talk to you about it, and your wife, and what about your kids? Are they interested?
My son, my oldest, is he'll watch stuff with me. He has he's at an age where questions, it's like 1,000 questions about everything. It's cool to be able to talk to my kids about that, and be able to give them facts that they might not even learn in school, or without even going on the internet. I can give them certain things. I'm not a scientist in any by any means, but I have enough knowledge
to your
to be
son,
able to share.
You're everything.
I hope so.
Superhero. But yeah, going on from Jaws, is there any other films that you like? Like, I feel like when you like your favorite film, you're way more hard on it, purely because you fantasize about what could have been. Is that something you agree on?
So I believe for films that like more modern films, I think it's easier to be hard on them. For me, it was a movie made in 1975 where there was no CGI. They had to do things all practical, and this was the things that they had to do to make this movie what it is and how big it was. It was just it makes me appreciate it more instead of being hard on it. And also, this is one of those times where it's like, hey, what would you want to see in a remake? And it's like, I don't want to see a remake. That
was my next question, actually. Film. Yeah. Do you think it was set in the time then? Do you reckon that's them sort of, those days are sort of where they sit?
Yeah, I think it's a movie of its time. I don't think it's a because of the way that they portray sharks in the movie. As somebody like myself who is a shark advocate who wants to protect sharks, and this is a movie about killing a shark that is terrorizing a town.
Two very different things there.
Exactly, but I think it's a product of its time. I feel nowadays you would have to set it back in those times. You would have to, like, if you were to remake the movie, you would have to remake it and have it set in 1975 or earlier than that, because the way that, especially in the United States, the way that people view sharks are way different than they viewed them back then. No one really understood them.
So do you reckon they could? Sorry, interrupting you.
No, you're good.
Do you think they could do like a Hobbit sort of situation, where they would bring back, you got the old Lord of the Rings, even with Star Wars as well. You got the old Lord of the Rings, you got the old Star Wars, but then they remade what possibly could have happened beforehand.
I don't think so. When it comes to Jaws, there's really no like beforehand, unless you were to kind of do a movie where you're like there's an origin story to the shark.
I mean, you don't know. It could, there could be something from the shark side that you don't know about. It could be like genetically enhanced or something like that.
Yeah. To me, I think the only thing that in my eyes they could do is in Jaws, Quint, who is the shark hunter, he tells a story about how he was on the USS Indianapolis, which was a battleship that was attacked by the Japanese and was sunk, and it was a huge all the soldiers are floating on the water, and sharks, after a while the sharks were starting to eat the sailors. And Quint was on that ship, so I think perfect would be like him going through that situation and then him afterwards, and it was kind of like a pre-Jaws, like a story about Quint. That would be a really interesting thing to see, because that is one of the greatest speeches in a movie I've ever seen.
That way you're not ruining the integrity of the film.
Exactly.
It's more modern. You don't have to have anything crazy going on. Mm-hmm. So, out of the four, I'm going to ask you, which one's your favorite?
I mean, the original.
Yeah,
Just no ands.
just straight up the original.
Yeah, straight up.
Obviously, that's
Straight
where
up
it
the
started
original.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah. The other three are like not even like right underneath it. They're like they're way far down. Especially 3 and 4. They're absolute garbage. Where two is still like I could watch 2 if 2 was on TV. I would watch it.
Right.
It's still an entertaining movie, but it was unnecessary.
Okay. All right. Sweet. So there's not many shark movies out there actually, because obviously you got the Piranha film. What about Meg? Did you enjoy Meg? Have you seen Meg?
I actually did enjoy it. I mean, listen, it's a modern, CG heavy action movie.
Are they different sharks?
When you throw,
I'm not too sure.
so the Meg is a megalodon, which is it's an extinct shark. It's just, doesn't even exist anymore. So, but the whole story around it was that it was living. It was living in this really deep trench in the bottom of the ocean, protected by this like this gas, so it couldn't come up. So like they've been alive for millions of years and we didn't know about it, and then shit happens and it comes to the surface. It was a really good. I read the book before I saw the movie, so it made me appreciate it more. The books are actually really good, which a lot of people will be like, oh, there's books. Yeah, there's a series of books on the Meg.
Bro, when I you got to pay me to watch that film. I mean, even like Jaws was tough for me. Even Free Willy, my brother, was tough for me because of the damn ocean, and that film gets me emotional. But with Meg, I see the trailer and I was like, hell to the fuck no. And then my guy Jason Statham just like, you know what? I'm gonna go out there in there. I'm gonna go in there with it.
Yep.
Just getting anxiety just thinking about it, bro. I mean, when that little girl, she's like running through, and then obviously she turns around, and the thing's just staring at her, and then oh man, oh man, no, can't do it.
Wild times, man. I like I said, it was, it wasn't great, but it was a very entertaining movie. I thought, we're getting, and they just announced a sequel, so that gets me excited.
Oh, there's a second one, Joy. Fantastic.
Yeah.
How much of a part did my boy Rainn Wilson have?
He had actually a pretty decent part in the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I see him in the trailer. I'm like, yeah, he's probably just going to be there just because, get the film promotion up a little bit. But if he had a decent part in it, that's pretty good. I love Rainn Wilson. Obviously,
oh yeah, me too.
From The Office, he fits perfectly to Dwight. Yeah. But yeah, Meg. So you give Meg quite a good rating compared to Jaws.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's nowhere near the caliber of Jaws, but it's a good shark movie.
Okay, so
there's not many.
So there's a funny one that I have actually seen, which makes me laugh, and that's Sharknado.
Oh, I
don't know if you was ready for me to say that, but is that one you haven't seen?
I have not seen them. I can't
Bro.
Sci-fi movies, man.
It's the stupidest. If I can watch it, I mean, damn, you probably shouldn't watch it, but it's the stupidest thing ever. I mean, the towns are getting attacked not only by a tornado in the ocean, but the only way it happens is if there's sharks in it. Some of them have got electricity. Some of them are like superpowers, and oh my god. Well, I'm glad you haven't watched it, because then we don't really have to have much to say on it. But let's keep to the more specific ones. But yeah, going off from Jaws, I've always wanted to talk to you about Jaws, always, because I've always seen you obviously when doing your emotes, and then obviously going from there, I was like, damn, this guy really likes fucking sharks, honestly. But going on from there, building your podcast, your empire around YouTube, how difficult was it? Because obviously you used gaming before, wasn't you?
I wouldn't classify myself as a gamer. I was just a loud person who attempted to play games. I was never. I mean, I played games all my life, but I never classified myself as a gamer.
Right. It's just one of those things. You're on Twitch and people see you as a gamer, sort of thing.
Right.
Yeah. So when did the podcast thing start for you? So like, obviously, because it's only been like, I think it was last year, I want to say. Am I correct? Is when I see it.
Yeah, our 2 months will be a year for the show when we released our first episode. It was kind of a conversation me and my brother had a few years ago where we'd always, because we grew up watching movies. We were products of divorced parents, where we would go hang out with my dad, and we would go, to the movie rental store, and we would rent a bunch of movies and go back, and literally the whole weekend was full of us just watching movies. So we always had that conversation, like, hey, we should do a podcast about it, and then it would kind of just fade away, and then
it's one of those things
I don't remember what. Yeah. It's for a couple of years we were just saying it and never doing anything about it, and it wasn't until this past April, or last April, sorry, we decided, no, we're gonna do it, and it was right around when Godzilla versus Kong came out.
Okay.
We were like, you know what, let's do this, like 100% do it. We started, our first podcast episode was on Godzilla 2014, because we decided we were going to do the MonsterVerse movies, and and it's just kind of gone from there. We started off as the Parker Chronicles, because it was me and my brother.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I remember that. Yeah,
doing it, and then my brother had to step away from the show, and I asked DNA Gaming, my good friends Dan and Angela, if they wanted to be permanent co-hosts, because as much as I know I could do it by myself, like I knew I could put on a decent show by myself, it's always good to have somebody with you to kind of go off of.
Yeah,
when
bounce
you're talking
off
about
the energy, if they bring up something that you don't necessarily have thought of. But yeah, going back to Godzilla, where you're saying that, how was the 30 seconds of seeing Godzilla in the whole film?
Oh boy, man! I mean, it was great. Those 30 seconds were awesome. I mean, he looks great in this movie, but we had
if you could see him, because it was all dark as well. Yeah, I mean,
he only had one of that movie's product was they show Bryan Cranston, and he's in it for 3 minutes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's just for the promo work, though, isn't it?
Man, it was so disappointment.
Godzilla versus Kong, any better? Because I haven't seen it personally.
I mean, it's you get to see King Kong and Godzilla fight, so for me that was like 10-year-old. I was like a 10-year-old watching that, like, oh my god, it's so cool.
I mean, I love
those
King
movies
Kong.
are just
You're not a big fan of King Kong? I love the story. I love the story behind it.
Yeah, and I love this with the MonsterVerse. I love the new iteration of Kong. I like the whole, like, they didn't retread on what he was in the original 1933 film, and then when they did the remake in 2005, this was a completely different version, and I appreciated that. It was cool to see him in a different light.
That's super dope. I mean, he borrowed Stormbreaker, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. They had to call Marvel up and be like, yo, can we use this?
Yeah, that's why it took so long.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the same sort of with me. I think I enjoyed the original Godzilla so much that, as soon as I saw 2014, like the remastered sort of version, it was sort of like, well, what was the plot? What was the plan? I mean, cool, great, he's here. Wait, he's destroying stuff. Okay, cool. What's happening next, sort of thing. But I'm hoping if you're saying Godzilla vs Kong is good, I might have to give it a watch. Yeah, I'm one of those people that once I'm being upset about something that I like, I'm sort of like, nah, not giving it a chance anymore.
Yeah. I feel that.
But so yeah, obviously we've been talking a bit on Twitter. We've been talking a lot about the Star Wars. I've been writing some upset things, and you'd write some upset things. Going on from all the films and everything, what was your feelings on Book of Boba, without doing any spoilers, as much as you can? How happy were you with it?
I'm enjoying it, but I wish it wasn't called the Book of Boba Fett. I wish they came out with if it was just a different name, because it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
After watching it through where we're at right now, it's like, but why?
Yeah, obviously I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so I have an issue with everything apparently. If you ever go on my letterbox, I feel sorry for you, because I just shit on films. Not because I can, purely because, like I was asking you earlier about, because I'm so passionate about it, I have this fantasy of where things can go and where I think they should go. And I think bringing out a Boba series, I don't know, man. I feel like they should have iterated him more in Mandalorian. purely because his story was, he got eaten and then he's out. That's pretty much his story, because we know everything about what happened in Empire Strikes Back. We know what he does. He's a bounty hunter. He got eaten. He escaped. That was dope. And then what happened between him getting his armor back? That was dope. And, that whole story was sick. And out of nowhere, it's just like, hang on. There's 2 episodes where book of a sentence of Boba Fett.
Book of 5 seconds of him.
Yeah, and he took the Godzilla trait and made it his own. But hopefully there should be a couple more episodes, right? I'm
which I'm hoping they put it back into what it was when we first started watching it.
Yeah, towards the end they sort of like reiterated and brought him back to light in his own series, but I'm sort of the same way about the Obi-Wan series as well. We sort of know what happens to him throughout the films. You got plenty of books. The only thing we don't know is what happened when he pretty much just peaced out. And I feel like we should have had an Ahsoka beforehand, or some other series that on characters that we don't know rather than what we do know. But then again, I'm not an expert, so but yeah, going on from what I was talking about, and you saying that when you wanted to be working with the ocean and working in the sea, how difficult is it to balance this life of being a creator and your family life?
It's difficult. It's all about just working with my wife to be able to do these things. Is also work as well, because I don't have I work a job that I work 3 different shifts every week, so like trying to link up with my co-host to do an episode is difficult. So there's times where we have to record multiple episodes a week to kind of make sure that I have episodes for the next 3 weeks, because I might not be able to record 2 out of those 3 weeks.
Wow.
But when it comes to my my wife is very understanding when it comes to this, even though we just welcomed our 3rd child a few months ago.
Congrats.
Thank you. And so it's we're kind of starting over, because we have taking care of an infant is interesting, because I haven't done it in a while.
Oh, so you don't know what sleep is? Okay, makes sense.
It's good. It's good.
Oh, okay, that's good.
We get decent sleep. Yeah, it's don't let. I mean, some parents do go through it. They have. It depends on how the kid is, but he's.
I'm going off my mum, because my mum has 9.
Well. I'm not even close to that.
8 boys and 1 girl.
Wow.
But yeah. So you don't really, do you struggle? Is it something that sort of like, you spend enough time with your children, but at the same time you got work, and then you want to pursue this career and doing your hobby? Is it, do you have your priorities set straight?
Yeah, I believe I do. I mean, it is stressful. There can be times where, maybe, just things don't line up the way you want them to, or you're trying to work with somebody else on something and it just doesn't, we can't figure out the right time, and then it just kind of blows up in your face. Not in a like completely devastating way, but I feel like the balance is, I feel like it's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be those stressful times. There's always going to be those, wow, that was easy. But for doing this for almost a year now, it's kind of, we've come to an understanding of like when I'm going to do things. I try to let her know what I'm going to do things in advance, so she has an idea. It's not kind of like last second stuff. So everything kind of works out.
Okay, so you're on the same page, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So obviously we talked a lot about what you're doing now, being a podcast host. We made it very clear that you wasn't a gamer when you came into this. So how did you find Twitch? Like when did that all start for you? When did you feel like you wanted to promote yourself to the world via being live on the internet?
Well, I'm gonna be one. I mean, I'm gonna be blatantly honest. I used to watch Ninja. Weird to say. I used to watch Ninja, and he played with a dude named Tim the Tap Man. I started watching him. I really liked his vibe. It wasn't the fact that it wasn't about his gaming. It was about the way that he put himself out there, the way that he interacted with his chat, the way he interacted with his friends, the way he just went about himself. He wasn't, to me, he didn't feel like a professional gamer.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it in quotations.
He's a showman for sure.
Yeah, and I was like, man, that looks fun as hell, and I feel like I can be an entertaining person. So I just, jumped right in, and it's definitely been a struggle. I've been doing it for 3 years now, and it's definitely you have your we have your highs, and then you have your literally it's not even lows, it's like negatives, where you're just okay, maybe this just isn't for me. Mental health comes into question on it. It's all about it. You just got to go into it not expecting immediate success, because you're gonna fail immediately.
I mean, once we all started out, it was sort of like, yeah, okay, maybe this ain't working out, because it's something new. So you when you fail for that first time, when it's something new, you don't always expect it to go that way. But like you say, when it's been 3 years, for me, it's coming up 8 years. And
wow.
Yeah, it's kind of the same. When I joined Twitch, it used to be called Justin TV. There was like 300, 400 of us on here. And yet, sad enough, I'm still no partner. But it's difficult, man. If you're not putting in streams every single day, 2 streams a day, networking your ass off, and putting out posts whenever you can, it's just something that it isn't really going to happen unless you blow up overnight. Like a lot of these big streamers do. It's something that's not going to happen. But that doesn't stop a lot of people from having it as a hobby.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, how do you find networking? Is a question that I ask a lot of people, because some people are saying that it's important. A lot of people say there's no point. How do you challenge networking?
So when it comes to when I was just streaming, when I was just on Twitch and networking, it was all, there was so many different ways people would tell you to do it. There was the follow for follow. There was the, which doesn't work. There's, just a bunch of practices that are not good that you're told in the beginning. To me, it's really hard. I feel it's about finding the right people that aren't just gonna, that are gonna support you for you and not support you for, other reasons. When it comes to the podcast, I think it's a little bit easier, because opening up and saying we do movie reviews, you get a lot of people coming in that also do that aren't being toxic, which I feel that sometimes the streamer side of it, if you're just gaming or you're just doing Twitch or YouTube or wherever you're streaming, there's a lot of toxicity in it. Okay. You get a lot of people that's just trying to see, hope that you fail, or if somebody succeeds, you kind of see why am I not succeeding? We started at the same time. There's just a lot of things going on, where with the podcast, I've met a lot of awesome people who do the same thing, but better, in my opinion, because they've been doing it longer. But they want to see you succeed. They're retweeting your video. I post a video on Twitter, they're retweeting it, they're commenting on it. And these are people I've really never met, but they're substantial channels that want to see you succeed as well, even though you're doing the same exact thing, which is awesome. Yeah,
of course. And I feel like with me, it's difficult, because just because you post it once, to just say I have 1,000 followers or whatever, just because you post it once don't mean that everyone's going to see it. All 1,000 people are going to see it. You have to keep posting it, and that's that sort of stage. You feel like you're annoying a lot of people. But something that a good friend of mine said to me, if you're constantly in someone's face and you're constantly on someone's feed, they can't ignore you. And that's what stuck with me. But yeah, so obviously, with your podcast, so with me, it's sort of I love community. I'm a photographer, so I love talking to people, love getting to know people, love having different sort of people on here, because it gives me a challenge. which is a little bit scary, but at the same time, it's cool. How do you control conversation during your podcast? Like if it's going down a route where you don't really know either what else to say or where the conversation is going, how do you handle that?
Well, for me in the beginning, it was I used to go into a lot of shows not prepared. I didn't take a lot of notes on movies, and even though I've seen a movie, I could see a movie 50 times, and my memory is just so bad that it's hard for me to kind of remember point for point what's going on in a movie. So I'd always have to try to bounce off of my co-host to kind of fill in the gaps of what we're talking about. It's if in the For me, it's about taking notes. It's about trying to also not just kind of telling the story, retelling whatever the movie you're talking about or TV show. It's all about talking about it and then adding stuff in, especially like humor. If it's something seems funny to you, trying to add a joke in there, or try to make it funny. We nitpick at movies or nitpick things in movies that most people wouldn't even notice, and it makes it funny.
Okay.
And that's what it's all about, is just trying to we're not that type of show that is going to just be like everything we say. There might be some things that aren't even true, because we pull off trivia facts from IMDb or Wikipedia, which Wikipedia don't take most trivia from that, because people can add stuff to it that's not even true. But we could, we're pulling stuff from everything, but from everywhere. And sometimes maybe something's not true. And I always state, hey, if there's something we missed or something, that was wrong, let us know, because I'm not a master at every single movie I watch. I try to do the best at doing enough research to not make the show 20 minutes. But I also don't want to just spew a bunch of BS when I don't, if I don't know enough.
Of course, man. And I'm obviously, like I say, I've got my notes here, and going through your videos, the ones that really caught my eye were the Jurassic Park ones. They seem to do really damn well on your channel.
I don't understand it, but
is it something that you did it once and then you sort of just like, hang on, these are doing well, let's carry this on?
No, I mean, we talked about doing the entire franchise, and the funny thing is that we did like the first 3 movies, and then we stopped. We did, because in October we did a bunch of horror movies, and then we came back to the final 2, and even when we came back, those videos specifically were doing really well. And it was so weird, because even when we look at them now, like for instance, our Jurassic Park 3 video, which in my opinion, and we talked about on the show, it's probably the worst Jurassic Park movie of the entire franchise.
Well, that's it, and it's coming up on 27,000 views.
People really like us talking about it, I guess. I don't understand it.
So how'd that feel for you? What's it like having videos over 15,000 views? How's that do for you mentally? Yeah.
Oh, it makes it. I mean, to be honest, since starting this show, there's always going to be those road bumps, but since starting the show, like my mental health has been way better than than it was the 2 years prior that I was just streaming, when I was just doing what I was doing. Just because I'm doing something I enjoy. I love talking about movies, and not that I didn't enjoy streaming, which I still stream a little bit to this day, but it was just trying to figure out what I was going to do for that day. And sometimes I go into this knowing what I'm doing, what I'm going to be talking about. I'm prepared now, and I get to talk about movies with people who also enjoy talking about movies. And there's nothing better than that. If you find that thing that you enjoy, it's going to make you feel good. Some days
you heard it here first, folks. You heard it here first. So obviously you've always enjoyed doing this movie thing. Like, did you have to go through a lot of things that you didn't enjoy before you realized this is something that you really wanted to do?
I mean, so when it came to like streaming, it was
or YouTube. I had a lot. Either one, yeah.
Yeah, like I enjoyed it. I enjoy it because I've met. I mean, the people who were my co-hosts, Dan and Angela. I met them because of streaming. They were I met them a couple months into the start of it all. And the biggest thing is for me that I've enjoyed the most about it is meeting those people and now having lifelong friendships with those people that I've met through it all. But
wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I was I had friends in high school, and then when I got out of high school, I wasn't the type of person who really was good at keeping in touch with people. So a lot of the friends I had, they kind of just they did their own things, and I was kind of I'd like to do things on my own. I had my brother, I have a younger brother. I have I met some people that I worked with at my old job, but streaming really brought some amazing people into my life, even though I've never physically met most of these people. They're still great friends to me. And that's the best thing that I've gotten out of streaming. There have been days where I've just said, this sucks.
Oh, wow.
This whole thing is just not fun to me. And you go into, and I overthink things. I have a weird form of anxiety that makes me overthink everything. And, a lot of people say, hey man, don't worry, if you're streaming to one person, don't overthink it. Well, I was that guy. I would only stream to 1-2 people, and it was super discouraging.
Well, yeah, because you feel like you're putting out good content, and
Right.
It's not showing.
Right.
In that sort of sense. But going on to your the mental health side of things, how have you dealt with that, or is that something that you're still dealing with now?
I mean, I'm always going to deal with mental health issues. I'm always going to deal with anxiety. I'm always going to deal with, I've never been diagnosed with any of these things, so I can't, I'm not going to say I have all these things when I've never been diagnosed. But I mean, yeah. Right. It's more of just what I've observed throughout my life, where I was like, there's no way this isn't, anxiety or depression or something. Like
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people have that in the way of what they want to do. A lot of people, they have these, voice in their head telling them, this isn't good enough. No one's gonna love this. And until you do it, you're not gonna get a 26,000 view review on Jurassic Park 3.
Right.
Maybe it did so well because like you say, it's not the best one, so people probably wanted to hear why you thought it wasn't the best one.
I mean, there's going to be always those defenders of those type of movies, which is fine, because when I was a kid, one of my best memories was going to see Jurassic Park 3 in theaters with my grandmother, who really pushed me into watching movies. I mean, she had a massive VHS collection. She's the one who showed me Jaws for the first time, the original Jurassic Park, and movies that I shouldn't have been watching at the age I was. So going to see Jurassic Park 3 in theaters with her, that was a memory I will never forget. And I enjoyed the hell out of that movie. And to be honest, it's not like a movie that I hate. It's just not like rewatching it as a 30-year-old man.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, yeah, there is this, there's a lot of flaws to this movie, and there's just things that don't make sense. And then you read of what's going on behind the scenes, which made it even worse. And you're like, all right.
Oh,
this is definitely a different film that I remember.
Did you get much slack for that review then? Did you have any comments on this video?
No,
I didn't get any comments. Oh, did you turn them off, or was it just no?
Yeah, no. They just, people just don't comment, and that's okay.
Oh well, no.
We tell people to every week.
Yeah, well, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, yeah, I'll take the views all day long. But yeah, so going through your, obviously, I can notice it when going through a couple of your videos. Like I said, the ones that I enjoy, the films I enjoy, 'cause I like to hear people's opinions on stuff. Talk to me through your process on how, from going from post to recording to getting people involved to editing. Do you have sort of like a written list on how you do these things, or is it just from memory?
It's all from memory. It's we'll usually record in the beginning of the week, because we release a new video every Friday. and we usually record early in the week, and then I take a couple days to edit it, to bring it all together. It's mostly just to kind of chop out any long pauses. And the nice thing about recording is that, like, I have kids and they have kids, so if like their kid walks into frame and they need to talk to them, they can go do whatever they want, and then I can just mark where I need to edit and I can chop all that out. And so you're not listening to the podcast and then there's just empty space for 5 minutes.
Oh,
I don't do
okay.
anything fancy with my edits. It's literally just chopping it up, chopping out, good portions of stuff that's
It's
just
like a highlight.
nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or we used to stream it on Twitch, which is something I think we're going to go back to as kind of like hey, it's an anniversary show. We're going to do, we're going to do it live.
Sort of like how this is right now.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I always do mine live, so people. It's difficult because I just take it all from Twitch and just upload it straight away because I make sure there's always something going on. But at the same time, a lot of people are like, well, you don't talk to chat, and it's sort of like, yeah, but it's for like if people who just want to listen while they're working, and it's something they might not see the video, so that if I stream it, they can see it there.
Yeah.
And then once I do upload it, then I can promote it. I feel like I need to do a better job of promoting it because at the moment, with having my company, VandalThreads, this is now the fun thing to do because at the time, the clothing company was the fun thing to do. But once that turned into a job, that love slowly started to turn into, all right then, I have little control over what's going on now because obviously I've got a lot of people in for stuff that I can't do. And I was thought, you know what, start a podcast up again, get a bunch of people on. It's fun. But yeah, obviously you don't know what's going to happen within the years. What is your plans? What is your plans for the next 5 years? Do you have any idea of where you want to be, or because you don't know, if something happens and it blows up, is this something that you're prepared to do full time?
Oh, I mean, I'm ready. I would love to be able to just sit down and do this, full time and not have to do what I do now. Just the fact that I don't work a day job. I work, I work days and then I can work at night, and then it's an endless cycle, and sleep sucks and all that. So to be able to sit down and do, it would definitely be better. It would definitely be better production value and stuff like that, and better research. I think that's something that I've lacked since starting the show, is just sitting down and really digging deep into certain movies and getting a lot more information about behind the scenes and stuff like that, because it's like the podcast is for you, like your podcast is for you. This is my fun because I have a full-time job. I have 3 kids. I have to take care of them and do all this stuff on the side. Where this is, the podcast is my fun. But I'm trying to bring it up, to a different level where, I'm pushing it out there in front of people. I'm, sharing it all the time on Twitter. I'm sharing it. I even went over to Facebook, which is kind of gross to say, but like I was pushing, well, cause I have, there's a lot of people, like people that might be interested in the show, and it's more just for the show, not for me. Like, hey, I have a podcast. I talk about movies. If you're interested, come check it out. It's more for that. It's not
check out
trying to get
into
free.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm giving you a hard time on that one. But no, it's all fun and games. So it's you don't know, like you say, don't know what's going to happen in the future. Do you say like you? Because when you have kids, I don't know. I don't have kids. You don't really have that time to try and find yourself again. You got what you love and you try and pursue that as hard as you can. Is that something you agree with?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. But yeah, you as we were talking about before, of content, as your ideas, have they excelled or have they slowed down a bit? For like
I think they've excelled.
For more shows, for getting more people on, for doing it by yourself,
Oh, they've definitely excelled. I think I in my head I have, because we talked about starting a Patreon and doing Patreon exclusive shows, and I already have like 4 or 5 things in my head. Not that they're all going to come to fruition, within the 2022 or whatever, but I have all that stuff in my head that I can relay to the team, and we can go over. It's not like I'm gonna be. It's like a last minute idea. Like I've had some pretty, in my opinion, good ideas on shows in the future. Of course I've told them about just me doing some things by myself, which I have ideas on that, especially when it's something that might not interest them. I don't want to force them to do every single piece of content for the show. I appreciate everything that they do, like especially since I don't pay them, because this is all for fun. This is them volunteering their time to sit down with me and talk about movies. So yeah, there's a lot of ideas in my head that I hope will all be out at some point in the next few years.
So where can we find your podcast? Obviously we've got the YouTube, but where else can we find it?
So we're on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Podbean. If you just type in "Dissect That Film," we should be right there.
I love that, man. I don't know if you ever thought about it before, but obviously it's a difficult one because you said you like reading books. Is that something that you've thought about doing as well?
I need to. My brother actually was just talking to me about it because he's a very avid reader, and he talks to me all the time about getting back into books because it's very like I've suffered some brain injuries in my life, and there's probably going to be repercussions for those things when I get older. So reading is one of those things that keeps your mind kind of going. So you don't, you might not form something down the road. So yeah, it's definitely something I would like to get back into. And there's actually an idea for a show that I would like to do down the road that has to do with books.
I'm spilling the beans right now.
Yeah, it's just an idea. There's no really blueprint yet for it.
So what's your favorite book to read?
My favorite book was, oh boy, you're putting me on the spot here.
You read a lot of books then? Because obviously you have the show.
Recently.
You have the show. You got kids. You work, and to be reading the book, you have to have your own little world. It's not just reading line for line. You have to be in the book, and that's something that I struggle with.
Yeah. I would say in the last 5 years, my favorite book was Mindhunter, which was the true story behind the show, the Netflix show Mindhunter.
Okay, yeah.
Which was about it was 2 FBI profilers who would literally go and interview serial killers, and it was the true, like, it was the stories from the real guy, talking about like interviewing Charles Manson. The BTK, no, not the BTK killer, but like a bunch of famous serial killers from the 70s and 80s.
Oh, is that in just one book or is it like a series?
No, it's just one book.
Okay, cool. Sweet, man. Yep. But yeah, going on, I've always wanted to ask this question, and I don't want to put you on the spot again, but YouTube Shorts, what's your opinion on doing the YouTube Shorts sort of thing? Because it's difficult when you got a podcast, isn't it?
It is. It's trying to find the right thing to put into that short.
Because I've watched plenty of videos, whether or not they're good, whether or not they're bad. Obviously, you have that thing where it's just like, you might as well.
Right.
But I think we're going through that TikTok sort of short phase where when everyone started TikTok to begin with, they'd push out a bunch of agendas. But I think we're going through that stage now with shorts. I'm going to give it a go, see what happens. But have you got any shorts on your channel?
No, there's every time I'm editing an episode, I always find that one thing. I'm like, that would be a good short, and then I finish the video and never get back to it. So, but one day I will probably try to go through and find some good clips to turn into shorts. And
yeah, because
I think it's good.
Yeah, well, they've been pushing a lot recently. Like a good couple of buddies who do YouTube, that I just uploaded a random short and it's got like 50,000 views. Like what sort of impact could that have for someone? If you're doing something that you love, yeah, that's cool, but at the same time, when you get the views for it, is that something you'd get more motivation over doing?
Oh, 100%, because in my opinion, especially for a short, from a podcast, that person can watch a short from a certain one, and if they think that part's funny, they might go in and jump into that hour and 20-minute podcast episode, because it's really, I upload the podcast onto YouTube, just so that for anyone who is interested in watching the video form. I know most people who listen to podcasts, they listen to it through an app like Spotify or Google Podcasts or any type of podcast service, because it's more convenient. Like
Right.
I listen to podcasts when I mow my lawn, when I shovel my driveway, when I'm doing stuff around the house. I'm even at work, when I'm doing stuff at work, I'm listening to podcasts. It's just more convenient. But there are people out there who like to watch the video form, and so that's what the whole point of it is. But there's times where you can go to, like, if you go to a YouTube channel, sometimes seeing a video that's an hour and 35 minutes long is like, do I want to jump into this? Like, am I gonna have time? It's like watching a movie.
And you don't know whether or not, it depends. Like, you don't know whether or not that is going to be for you, and you don't know until you've listened to the whole thing.
Exactly. So I think the shorts would be great to introduce people to the video. Like, if you put in that short, even if it's not them going to the YouTube itself, maybe it's them just going, oh wow, that show seems funny, I'm gonna go download that podcast right now.
Oh, for sure. And it's something that you can recycle as well. So if you're on TikTok, you put it on there. If you got Facebook, you put it on there. If you got the Reels on the Instagram, you put it on there. And that sort of backpedals back to the social media thing. But yeah, while I've still got you before we end, because an hour's just flown by. Yeah, the hour's just flown by for me. I love doing this and looking around and seeing the time. But where do you think the future of podcasts are? Because I feel like it's at a high right now. But I feel like in my head, every time I upload a podcast, I'm thinking, how long is this going to be? Because it's only one person. Like, podcasts last an hour on average. How many hours can people listen to them a day? Because you've only got time for maybe one podcast in the morning before you're at work or when you're at break or something. How much longer do you think that these podcasts can last?
I think they're going to be around for a while. I don't see really any end in sight. There's a lot of podcasts I listen to that have already been in the game for 10 years. Wow. And they're still going strong. So it's one of those things where, it just, and people are just going to keep creating new ones. Like, podcasts are just, I swear it's like every week someone wants to start a podcast, which is awesome. I want to see more people go out there and really put themselves out there and talk about the things they're passionate about, because there's podcasts on anything you can think of. There's a podcast out there for it. So that's why I think they're not going to go anywhere for a while, because there's always something for someone to listen to.
I love that, bro. And one final thing, for anyone out there, you're a content creator. I'm going to call you a content creator, because at the beginning you didn't really know. You was just like, you call me whatever you want, sort of thing. For someone joining, like you say, we talked about it throughout as well. For someone joining this world of content creation, what would be your words to them just starting out?
Be patient. You're not, unless you have the right tools, you're not going to see immediate success. It's all about growing and figuring things out, and forming friendships and relationships with people to help you elevate your game. That's coming from the type of person that I am. Find something you're passionate about. Don't do things just because others are telling you that's the popular thing.
Love that.
Just pick something you're really passionate about and go for it, and don't let anybody tell you it's the wrong way of going about it, or it's that's not the game to play, or that's not the thing to talk about. Do what you want to do.
Love that.
That's it.
Sweet. Parker, it's been an absolute damn pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. I've loved every minute of it, learning about from Jaws to family life to the film industry to content creation. I've loved every minute of it, mate. Thanks so much for coming on, dude.
I appreciate you very much. It was a pleasure being here.
Awesome, bro. Have you got any last minute shout outs before we get off?
I just want to shout out my amazing co-hosts, DNA Gaming, Dan and Angela. Thank you for putting up with me every week when we do the show. And just everybody who supports the show. I appreciate you very much. Perfect. And Vandal, of course, because He's awesome.
I appreciate it, bro. And if you guys haven't already, go check him out. All his links will be in the bottom of the video. Dissect That Film and Parker Dissects on Twitter. Is that correct? Parker Dissects?
Yep. Parker Dissects on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok.
Oh, this boy's everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, Parker, like I said, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on, and I'll see you later, bro. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks for having me.
See you later, bro.
Bye.
All right, guys. That's going to be it for the end of the show. Thank you so much to everyone who come out. Like I said, this video has been sponsored by VandalFreds. Be sure to use code VNDL at checkout for 5% off. Or if you're using, if you're going to be spending over £75, that's $375 for free shipping worldwide. And I'll be sure to catch you guys in the next podcast. Peace out.